Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back with another news update. We have some news on Rey Mysterio's injury. There's some updates on that. There's also some news of an NXT Superstar who has been sadly released from WWE. And finally, some updates, some happenings over in the world of Impact Wrestling as well. So let's get right into it. Let's take a look at all of the news. First of all, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter has reported that Rey Mysterio's injury isn't as bad as we may have feared at first. Mysterio, of course, sustained a recent bicep injury, and this was a big deal because, of course, he's booked not only for that match with Jushin Thunder Liger at New Japan's show in Long Beach, California, but also there's rumors of him being involved somehow, in some degree, at WrestleMania. Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated, of course, reported that it was going to be Mysterio versus Cena. That claim has been slightly rubbished online since. Everyone's kind of gone, you don't know what you're talking about, Justin Barrasso. Mysterio is not going to face Cena. Cena's going to have a different opponent instead. A lot of speculation over whether Cena could face The Undertaker still, who appeared to retire, of course, last year at WrestleMania 33, or maybe Cena could win at Fastlane, which would then put him in the WrestleMania match with Shinsuke Nakamura, who won the Rumble, and AJ Styles, who would therefore have a rematch clause if he lost the belt on Sunday. So, a lot of different possibilities, but this news on Rey Mysterio's injury clears things up a little bit, very slightly. So Meltzer reckons that Mysterio's injury is a grade 1 injury. That means that it won't cause any long-term damage to his strength or anything like that, and it should heal within a few weeks. That means that his match with Jushin Thunder Liger should be on, and that's a very exciting one because, of course, Mysterio and Liger are two of the more influential cruiserweights in the history of wrestling. Liger is a New Japan legend and also had a WWE match on a takeover show against Tyler Breeze, which was very like a one-off kind of unique debut for a wrestling star to come from New Japan over to WWE for just a one shot and then back to New Japan. Rey Mysterio, we all know why he's such a big deal. He was a legend in WCW. He went to WWE and became like a hero, a mainstream hero for the kids. And that match is really a dream one for two men of such stature in the history of cruiserweight wrestling. They faced once before, but that was a long time ago. I think it was about 20 years ago. So a lot of people looking forward to this one, and thankfully, it should be going ahead. In other news, over on Impact, we have a new double champion. Matt Sydal on last night's show, who is currently the Grand Champion, the one that sometimes was fought under MMA rules, but is kind of moving away from that a little bit. He fought the X Division champion, Taijiri Ishimori, and guess what? Matt Sydal won, and he's now a double champion. He's both the X Division champion and the Grand Champion as well. Myself and Sam were speculating just before this video over what this means, and we reckon that it could lead to some kind of unification thing for the belt where they drop the Grand Championship, because without the MMA rules, there's nothing that really sets it apart from the other titles in Impact. It's just a mid-card title with nothing special really attached to it anymore. But the X Division title, I don't think is in any danger of being made defunct. That's been one of their signature belts. It may be even more characteristic of Impact Wrestling than their World Championship. So rooted is the X Division in Impact history. So well done, Matt Sydal, a double champion. Well done, very good stuff. And also in Impact news, they have announced that next week we will see the return of a traditional Impact stipulation match. That match is the Feast or Fired match, which is kind of like, basically Impact saw the Money in the Bank ladder match over in WWE and thought, we want a bit of that, we want to have that sort of gimmick, but we'll do it times 4. So there's 4 briefcases up for grabs and a whole host of wrestlers in the match. And then if you pull down the briefcase, you find out what's inside it. So in 3 of the briefcases, there's a title shot. There's usually one for the Global Championship, the big one, the Tag Team Championship, and the X Division Championship. And because it's Feast or Fired, the 4th one just means you're fired, terminate your contract, which is a bit of a strange gimmick. But I guess they've used it before to explain why certain people have left the company, if they've signed for someone else, or if they've simply retired. They've used the Feast or Fired, the Fired briefcase, to kind of explain that. And obviously, with a few big additions to NXT from the Impact roster recently, I guess we could see one of those guys maybe pull down the Fired briefcase. But that all remains to be seen. It's been taped already, the match, but we'll see what actually happens on the TV show next week. And finally, some sad news, especially for fans of Abby Laith, or Kimberly as she's known on the independent scene. She has been released from her NXT contract. She made a few appearances at NXT. I think she's been a staple of their live house show circuit for quite a while now, but she's only made a few appearances on the NXT show itself. She was, of course, a competitor most famously in the Mae Young Classic as Abby Laith, where she did quite well. At the start of the tournament, it seemed like she might be one of the candidates to go all the way. She won her first couple of matches with the Alligator Clutch, which they put over as like a classic old move from the Mae Young era, and she's bringing it back. It's like a kind of a roll-up forwards where you pin both of their legs above their head in like a little ball. She used that to win her first 2 matches, but was then eliminated, I think, by Mercedes Martinez, which I found quite surprising considering how much they put her over in those early stages. And sadly, to be honest, I think it's a little bit unfair. I don't think she's been given enough of an opportunity, but I have no doubt that as Kimberly in her old independent gimmick, she'll have no trouble finding work with a bunch of other promotions, particularly with Ring of Honor's women's scene coming along leaps and bounds. That's all for now. Thank you very much for watching this news update. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me on Twitter at JackTheJobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic and check out our Patreon as well, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, never ever forget to join us.